Hi guys, my name is Stephanie, and today I want to talk about something very vulnerable to me, which is quitting alcohol. So basically, I am now sober. I've been sober for a couple weeks, and it was very hard for me at first, but I think that if I could do it, you could do it too. First off, I want to say you are so brave for even thinking about getting out of this state. You know, there are people out there that unfortunately they're too lost. They feel alone. They feel like nobody can understand them. And they feel like the only thing they could do is actually drink their pain away. Of course, by the end, we actually realize that it doesn't get you anywhere and that you could actually become even worse. Your anxiety gets worse. You feel more depressed. You have more fatigue. You actually start losing yourself. Start losing important relationships, um, because of how you act under the influence. And so I am here today to let you know that you are not alone, and that if I could do it, so could you. So first off, I want to say um, how it all started was because I eventually got to the point where the pain that I been through became too much. Okay. I started having problems with friends and just relationships in general, families and all this. So when I started to heal, it actually affected me more than it should have. Um, so I had one beer every now and then I realized that I started drinking more than I was supposed to at family gatherings, and eventually just like alone. I would, be on my bed listening to music and then just drinking, and the next day I wake up so hangover, and I had people come up to me like, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, I think you got very drunk last night." Like I would be texting and calling, and they're like, are you okay? And I'll be so hungover, and it just kept getting worse. It kept getting worse from there. The pain that I was feeling, the sadness, this frustration, I started to just like it just started getting out of control. Um, so it wasn't only that by the next day I felt extremely sick. Okay, I was hungover, like to the like I used to be skinnier because obviously because I would consume so much alcohol that I couldn't gain weight, and I didn't want to eat. Okay, because for some strange reason, alcohol actually filled me up. Okay, and I wouldn't hydrate enough. I wouldn't eat enough, so I started losing lots of weight and becoming more moody and all of this. So not only it was physically draining me, but also emotionally. Like slowly but surely, I started to notice how I would become more irritable, like more mad and just like depressed. Like I was just sad. Like not like I don't want the video to, but not like to that certain point depressed, but obviously like I didn't want to go out. I had no energy. I didn't want to do anything. But deep down, I just knew that that was not me. It's just couldn't, I was not dealing with pain properly. And to add the cherry on top, the people that back then were um right next to me, like they weren't supportive of at all. Like they didn't even try to help me out. And they might would have said something like, I used to hate, like, let's say, I wake up hungover, and then the first thing I would hear is like, oh, why were you drinking so much last night? And you should just quit. Like, first of all, guys, I'm not saying don't listen to these people because they might care for you, but they don't know how to speak properly. Okay. Like, first of all, I used to look at myself in the mirror and I was like, I. I don't know why people think that I enjoy drinking, as it's not how it seems, like maybe while I'm drinking, I'm like, having fun or eventually arguing, but I don't think nobody wants, and nobody wants to wake up the next morning being hungover, not being able to go to work, or if you go, like you feel like you're dying. I don't think nobody wants to deal with the shame of, do you remember what you did last night, or do you remember what you said? because clearly you probably blacked out, and now you have to deal with anxiety, which is like the worst thing ever. Okay. um and just like slowly see how people start having less respect for you because they think that you're doing this for fun, when clearly you're just like shouting for help, but nobody's there to listen because they can't listen. Unless you have gone through this, you're not gonna know 100% what I'm saying. Also, just like when people would tell me like, oh, just quit on the spot, like, like do cold turkey. First of all, guys, do not do this. Okay, my therapist told me do not do this. You could do your research. It is very dangerous. Okay, you could actually die from this because your body, what happens is your body is so used to all these chemicals, to all of this, like your body nervous system is just like, okay, like what now, and it could be very dangerous. So my therapist told me, like, let's say if you used to drink every day, try minimizing it, um, 4 times a week, then 3 times a week, then twice. And you're going to notice how your body slowly is going to, stop craving it. Okay. Um, Also, another thing I want to say is something that really helped me was grabbing a notebook and actually writing down not only the amount of money that I was spending, but also my physical health was like declining. Like it was insane. Like it got so bad. I couldn't eat. I was actually losing my spark. And I was like, you know what? I'm too young for this. I don't want to be 40 and then look like I'm in my late 50s, like it was bad. It's, you have to sometimes hold accountability, but not be so harsh on yourself, but also know that if you don't change your ways, you need to know, because at the end of the day, we know, you could get cancer. So many diseases could happen from just like drinking alcohol nonstop. Um, and let's not even start on the brain fogginess. It's just like you can't even think clearly. And all I wanted was for somebody to, instead of coming at me and just like, hey, why do you keep drinking? Why don't you just quit? Or why you do this, why you do that? Instead of that, all I really wanted was somebody to genuinely ask me, hey, are you okay? Or just giving me a hug, or just like, you know having someone to talk to, okay, that without judging me, even while I was having a beer, like just like, okay. Because it wasn't, and guys, I'm being so serious, it wasn't until I sat down with myself and I was like, what am I running from, that I stopped looking at liquor as what I thought it was. um I remember this day, I was actually hungover, I was throwing up, and I was like, God, please, I'll never drink away. I'll never drink again. We've all said that, okay? We have all said that. But more than physically being ill, it was something within me. I felt like the Holy Spirit was talking to me, like, this can keep going on, okay? And not being judgmental, but it was actually going to end up bad. I was gonna do something that I probably was going to regret, or um I just knew that God really had so much more for me. And I remember my first Bible, well, my favorite Bible verse that I remember was um, Isaiah 60:22, which is, for when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. And so many times I try to quit drinking and eventually I'll fall back towards it. I was like, you know what? I'll just have one drink. And then slowly but surely I kept going. But now although it was awful, I feel like now I could use my testimony that if I was able to do it, so can you. And to just know that there are going to be lots of people that are going to judge you for it. And this has nothing to do with you, in the sense like you shouldn't beat yourself up just because of society's opinion. Because I'm not trying to say this to justify alcohol, because it is a bad addiction just like any other addictions. But something that I realized in this whole process was like, I was beating myself up and allowing other people to come at me, but the whole time they also had other additions. Some of the people that were coming at me actually had gossip additions. They would smoke weed, you know, they would smoke weed, um, lots of weed. Okay, they couldn't stay without it. Other people were just like so addicted to criticizing other people, which is very bad. You know, it's just like an addiction or to their phones. And I was like, first off, just because you have a different addiction than mine does not mean that you're better than me, and vice versa. Just because my addiction is different than yours does not mean that I'm better than you. It just means that we should approach each other differently, and that we should have more compassion, more empathy, that we are all going through something very harsh, you know, like life is not easy at all, okay? And that everyone has the right to um, deal with their emotions how in the moment they might feel that could help them, okay? I'm not justifying this, but I'm saying you know it was a mistake. Your mistakes do not define you. What matters is that you want to exit from it, you want to change your life, okay? There are people there that they don't want help, they don't want anybody to tell them nothing. Unfortunately, there's nothing you could do about those type of individuals. But there are other people out there that, although they might be losing themselves in alcohol and other substances, they want to change, and that is a great step. It will take time, but I'm telling you guys, you could do it. And just know that this is only the beginning of a beautiful journal.